What if I told you the hardest part of retirement isn't money, it isn't health, and it isn't even aging? It's the silence, the kind of silence that doesn't hit you all at once, but slowly, gently, like a room growing darker at sunset. The silence that arrives after the farewell party, after the last handshake, after you walk out of that building for the final time, carrying a small box of memories. The silence that waits for you on Monday morning when the alarm clock doesn't ring. For 40 years your life was filled with noise, meetings, deadlines, co-workers calling your name, phones buzzing, emails piling up, responsibilities pulling at you from every direction. And then one day, it all stops, not with drama, not with firework, just quiet. And if you're not prepared for that quiet, it can feel heavier than you ever imagined. For decades your mornings had urgency, the alarm ringing before sunrise, the smell of coffee brewing while you ironed your clothes, the rush to beat traffic, the sound of your shoes on the floor as you stepped out the door. You complained about being tired. You dreamed about sleeping in. You promised yourself, one day I won't have to do this anymore. And then that day comes. The alarm stays silent. The house is still. You wake up naturally, roll over and look at the clock. 8:30, 9 o'clock. There's no rush, no pressure, no reason to hurry. At first it feels like freedom, but after a few weeks, something feels different. You sit at the kitchen table longer than usual. The coffee tastes the same, but the purpose is missing. No one is waiting for you. No meeting depends on you. No schedule needs you. The structure that once shaped your life disappears, and without structure, the days begin to blur together. Monday feels like Wednesday. Wednesday feels like Sunday. You start asking yourself quietly, what am I supposed to do today? And that question can feel heavier than any alarm clock ever did. Because human beings don't just need rest. We need rhythm. We need a reason to rise. When mornings go quiet, if we don't replace that rhythm, our sense of direction slowly fades. At work, you were somebody. People respected you. They called you for advice. They relied on your experience. Maybe you trained new employees. Maybe you solved problems no one else could solve. Maybe your decisions impacted dozens, hundreds, even thousands of people. Your name meant something in that building. Then retirement comes. The phone stops ringing. The emails stop coming. No one asks for your opinion. No one updates you on projects. It's not because you're forgotten. It's because the world keeps moving. And that realization can sting. You walk into a store and no one knows you used to run a department. You sit at a family gathering and the conversation shifts away from your old achievements. You go from being the boss, the expert, the leader, to simply being retired. And sometimes that feels like becoming invisible. Recognition is powerful. It feeds our confidence. It reminds us that we matter. When it disappears overnight, it can leave an empty space inside. But your value did not retire. Your wisdom did not expire. The world may not automatically seek you out anymore, but there are people who still need your guidance. Younger generations, community members, family members searching for direction. The applause may be quieter now, but the impact can be deeper. When workplace recognition goes quiet, it's an invitation to find a new stage where your experience still shines. Then there's the daily social buzz. For years you were surrounded by people, conversations in hallways, laughter in break rooms, frustrations shared over lunch. Even small talk had meaning because it reminded you that you were part of something bigger than yourself. Retirement changes that instantly. Friends still work. Their schedules stay busy. Your phone doesn't ring as often. You tell yourself you enjoy the peace, and maybe you do at first. But then a whole day passes without meaningful conversation. Then 2 days. Then a week. You sit in your living room and the television becomes background noise, just to fill the silence. You drive somewhere just to see people. Loneliness doesn't always arrive dramatically. Sometimes it arrives disguised as boredom, a quiet dinner table, an empty afternoon, a long evening with no one to share it with. Humans are wired for connection. We are not meant to live in isolation. When the daily social buzz goes quiet, the heart can feel it deeply. That's why connection must become intentional. Joining groups, volunteering, attending community events, calling old friends, building new friendships. These are not small things. They are lifelines. Because when conversation fades, the silence can echo louder than we expect. For 40 years, your paycheck arrived like clockwork. Every month, every 2 weeks, you knew money was coming in. It represented security, stability, proof of your productivity. Then retirement changes that. Now instead of earning, you're withdrawing. Watching numbers go down instead of up can feel unsettling, even if you plan carefully. You hesitate before making purchases. You question whether you can afford that trip you once dreamed of. You check your account more often than you admit. It's not just about dollars, it's about identity. For so long, earning money was tied to your sense of contribution. When the paycheck goes quiet, it can feel like your productivity went quiet too. But worth is not measured by income. You are not valuable because you generate a salary. You are valuable because of who you are. Financial adjustments are practical, but the emotional adjustment is deeper. Learning to see retirement funds as a tool you earned, not something to fear, is part of finding peace in this new chapter. Deadlines once pushed you forward. Projects had urgency. There was always something to finish, something to accomplish, somewhere to be. Retirement removes that pressure. No one is waiting on your report. No one is setting your targets. At first this feels relaxing, but over time, the absence of urgency can lead to drifting. You postpone exercise. You delay travel. You say, "I'll start next month." Without realizing it, weeks become months. Months become years, and the dreams you postponed during your working life remain postponed. The truth is, time feels different in retirement. It feels abundant, but it is also fragile. Creating personal goals becomes essential, not because someone demands it, but because your spirit needs movement. Setting fitness goals, learning new skills, pursuing hobbies, planning trips, starting projects, these create forward motion. When urgency goes quiet, intention must speak louder. Perhaps the deepest shift of all is identity. For decades, when someone asked, "What do you do?" you answered without hesitation. Your job title was part of your introduction. It was woven into your self-image. Then retirement removes that title. Now when someone asks what you do, There's a pause, a moment of uncertainty. Who are you without your profession? This question can feel unsettling because careers often become more than jobs. They become identities. But here's the emotional truth. You were never just your job. You were always more. Retirement strips away the label and reveals the person underneath. The parent, the spouse, the friend, the dreamer, the creative spirit who once had hobbies but set them aside, the traveler who postponed adventures, the mentor with stories to share. When professional identity goes quiet, your deeper identity has a chance to speak. And sometimes that rediscovery becomes the most beautiful part of retirement. And then there is stress. For years you carried it. Deadlines, expectations, responsibilities. You longed for relief. Retirement delivers it. The constant pressure fades. No office politics, no performance reviews, no rush hour anxiety. The body relaxes, the mind slows. But some retirees confess something surprising. They miss feeling needed. They miss being relied upon. They miss the sense of significance that came with responsibility. Stress wasn't pleasant, but it was proof that you mattered in a system larger than yourself. When that stress goes quiet, life can feel almost too calm. The days stretch wide and open, and without purpose, that openness can feel empty. The solution isn't to seek stress again, it's to seek meaning, to choose responsibilities rooted in passion instead of pressure, to help, to serve, to mentor, to contribute in ways that align with your heart. Peace with purpose is far more powerful than stress with obligation. Retirement doesn't just change your schedule, it changes your emotional landscape. The alarm clock, the recognition, the paycheck, the conversations, the deadlines. One by one, they fade into silence. If you're not prepared, that silence can feel overwhelming. But silence is not the enemy. Silence is space. Space to redefine yourself. Space to heal from years of pressure. Space to reconnect with loved ones. Space to rediscover dreams you buried decades ago. The happiest retirees are not the ones with the biggest bank accounts. They are the ones who build new rhythms, nurture relationships, set fresh goals, and protect their sense of purpose. Retirement is not the end of usefulness. It is the beginning of intentional living. After decades of noise, you finally have the power to choose what fills your days. And when you choose wisely, when you fill the quiet with connection, purpose, growth, and love, that silence transforms. It becomes peace. It becomes freedom. It becomes the most meaningful chapter of your life.